Hello, friends. Gregg Braden here. I am coming to you today from our studio just outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I have the honor and the privilege of sharing this screen with a dear friend and a colleague, Christian Minson, who I've had the honor and the privilege of working with in our programs, our flagship programs, since 2019. I want to talk to you a little bit about Christian, about how I met him, what he brings to the table for these programs, why I think it's important, and then I'm going to bring him into the conversation, and he and I can flesh out some of the details about what he does. Christian is a master at facilitating a very specific kind of breath work. And I know breath work means different things to different people because there are a lot of different kinds of breath work out there. The particular kind of breath work that Christian is using is on the screen right behind him. It is called breath flow. And I'll just tell you the story. I had the privilege of experiencing Christian firsthand when I was invited to speak as a speaker at the Rhythmia facility in Costa Rica during a 7-day long retreat, facilitating a group, a cohort of students through those 7 days. Breath work was part of those 7 days. So I went down as a speaker professionally. I also allowed myself to become immersed in the culture and in the breath work. And I said, I want to experience what these people are experiencing. So I did 2 sessions with Christian when I was there, and I didn't hold anything back. The purpose of the breath work is to provide a lubricant to free the chemical expressions of trauma that we have in our bodies. We all have trauma, means different things to different people. There's a chemical equivalent for every trauma that we will ever experience. It's called a neuropeptide that our body will attempt to metabolize. And if we have a block regarding that particular trauma, the body will store that neuropeptide until we have the skills and the tools to release it. It could be an hour after the trauma. It can be 70 years after that trauma. So I had the opportunity to release some of my trauma from my dysfunctional childhood. Christian saw the whole thing right before his eyes. He was very objective, very non-judgmental, very kind. And the experience that I had from that was so profound. I said, I would love to offer this as a part of our flagship programs, now called the Pure Human Programs, for all the reasons that I've just shared with you. And one thing led to another. The rest is history, as they say. I invited Christian to come from Costa Rica. He now is living in the US, and he is working at our 4-day events. So I know that when people see the word breathwork, there are different ideas about exactly what that means. So I do want to talk to Christian about that, but I want you to know that he's a good man. He's a dear brother. He is very responsible and very professional and offers breathwork in the safest way, the most responsible way that I've ever seen in any breathwork that I've ever done in my now 45 years of offering this work in one form or another. And it's for that reason that I'm not only excited, but I am also very grateful for Christian when he and his team, his staff, come to facilitate these programs. So without further ado, I'd like to jump into this conversation with Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Christian Minson. Christian, welcome, and thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to have this conversation with us today.
Well, the honor is all mine. Anytime I get to spend with you is coveted in my life. So thank
Oh,
you.
well, thank you. Well, this is completely unscripted. We have no idea precisely what we're going to say. I know it'll be a lot of fun. We've never done this before. But Christian, I think this is a really good idea because we're inviting people to a 4-day event. Breath work is a full day and part of another day. Pretty much, it ends up being pretty much about a full day and a half. And I'd like for people to have a sense for exactly what it is they're saying yes to. You know why I think it's important, but if you'd like to talk a little bit about your experience with breath work, I think that'd be useful here.
Sure, I'd love to get into it, and I think this really is a great idea to have this exchange to help people who are coming to your programs get a sense of what extra oomph they can get out of this. That's that's not just your amazing wisdom that comes up. So the first thing I want to say is that breathwork is a huge term, right? It these days especially, it could mean anything from yogic pranayamas where you're just kind of getting a little more relaxed, all the way up to extreme versions of hyperventilation and such uh, that go on the little bit risky edge. And I'd say that the type of breath work that I teach, which I call the breath flow integrative breathing process, is in a class of breath work which I have coined the term integrative breathing. And so integrative breathing is a type of breathing that is designed to integrate, as you intimated in the introduction there, to integrate any old stored energies and traumas in order to help you release them and be rid of them for good. So this is a practice that is a little bit more of an accelerated, what we call a circular connected breathing pattern. And it goes at a slightly accelerated pace. What it's meant to do is stir up those stored energies within us that have been locked in the closets of our consciousness, sort of bring those out and bring them up so that they can leave. What we used to say at this Arrhythmia Advancement Center was, what's coming is going, right? We're bringing it up to leave.
Yeah, I'd just like to jump in here really quickly, Christian, because what you said, I want to emphasize what you said. One of the reasons I am particularly drawn to this kind of breath work, I'm just going to take a step back. We all have trauma in our lives, and one person's trauma may not be a trauma to another person. It's based upon the lens and the filters of our lived experience and how we interpret those experiences of betrayal or abandonment or things like that. Not the most pleasant experiences to have. And the beauty of this kind of breath work is to free the emotional chemicals, the chemical residue, if you will, of that trauma. Does not require the reliving or the vocalization or the description, the step-by-step detailed recounting of that trauma. The breath is working on a level beyond the vocalization and in some cases beyond the mind. It is a felt experience. So many of us have traumas that we may not even be aware of. They can be subconscious traumas or traumas that we have worked our entire lives to hide so that we can function without having those traumas in our lives on the one hand. On the other hand, those traumas are still the blocks that keep us from the deepest truth of our love, of our health, of our healing, is where these things often show up. So the breath work lubricates, it's an emotional lubricant, allowing those neuropeptides to mobilize and metabolize without having to consciously recount the things that have hurt us in the past. Now, in the process, there may be fleeting memories or images that can come up, but it's quick, it is efficient. We don't have to tell anyone what's happening within us. It's a very intimate, very private experience in the presence of other people who are also having intimate and private experiences. And in that way, it is a community-based experience as well. Did I say that all right, Christian?
You said it very well. And that pretty much is the definition of the integrative breathing class, I'd say. And this class, people may have heard of holotropic breath or rebirthing or transformational breath. All of those and many others, including breath flow, are in this class of integrated breath work, which means that it's not just this calming, like let's get nice and settled type of breath work, but it's meant to stir up these things, to release them, so that we can get to that place of getting very calm, very connected, very blissful and peaceful, which is the end result. But the methodology is acknowledging that we can never fully be peaceful or calm if there's this storm of unresolved trauma or emotion brewing underneath the surface. Because every time we calm ourselves down, that storm comes to the surface and finally says, "Hey, now deal with me, right? Now make it pay attention to me at this point."
Well,
So
Christian, what you're saying is precise. Excuse me, I just got excited and jumped in right there. What you're saying is precisely the reason that I have invited you to share this in this particular series of programs that we do, because our focus is a heart-based focus. The access to the neural network discovered in 1991 in the human heart that opens the door to deep states of self-regulation, of immune systems, longevity enzymes, of learning, of memory, of healing, of intuition, all of those things. What we found is that our trauma often will be a block. It will allow us to go so far and then it'll stop to protect us from going into these deeper expressions of ourselves. And the reason that I feel so blessed to have you and your team at these events is because we do have the opportunity to open the door, clear those traumas, release, metabolize those neuropeptides. Then it allows us in the rest of our program to go even deeper, perhaps deeper than many people have been before, is what the accounts tell us. One of the reasons that I feel so really blessed, Christian, to be working with you, it is important to me to honor my community, to honor the people that come to us professionally and respectfully, and to offer them safety so that they can feel free to immerse themselves in whatever processes are being offered. One of the things that you do, and I have seen other people that have opted not to do this, is that you have a team of people that are professionally trained in what is called body mapping, that will observe yet not interfere with the process, the breathing that people are going through, and can offer helpful tips. And if someone has an experience they're not comfortable with or that they don't know what to do with, they have someone right there literally that has their back, because often they are holding them from behind using these techniques of body mapping to easily facilitate what for some people could be a problem. It becomes a non-issue because there's a professional right there helping to move that energy and to free the emotional bonds and the blocks surrounding that. And I think I want people to know that the word that comes to me again and again, it is a very responsible and a very professional way to invite people to release the parts of themselves that have protected them, maybe since they were children. They need an environment that they can trust, and you and your team offer that environment. So I just wanted to say that and let you know, and let our community know how much I appreciate that. And if it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't do the breath work. It's because of that integrated package of safety and responsibility that I feel good offering this. So I want to say that, and I want to thank you publicly for that, Christian.
Well, I appreciate that you bring that up, and that is definitely one of the main concerns. There's a lot that you just said there, and to recognize, for people to get infinitely more out of that out of the amazing program that you offer, it requires them to let go of some of the shieldings, the armorings, that protect the heart, so that the heart can be fully open to have this exchange during the program. And as you mentioned, the trauma is sort of like this ceiling or this block that doesn't allow you to go so far. So when we're able to do the breath work and open that up, that just gives people the opportunity to have an infinitely deeper experience. Now that that process of dealing with the trauma is, sometimes slightly uncomfortable because we're dealing with old energies that we didn't like in the first place. And that's where the whole safety container really is so important, because if we're dealing with stuff that is uncomfortable, we want to know that, yes, this is what's supposed to be going on, right? And that there is somebody who knows how to handle you as you're moving through this stuff. And that is why, what I've been trained to do, what the whole team has been trained to do, and, what our number one mandate is, so that, in the breathwork, we recognize that it's important to be vulnerable, but in order to be vulnerable, we have to trust. And in order to trust, we have to know that we're going to be safe. And so to create that container of safety that allows the trust, that then allows people to be vulnerable, I think really enhances the ability for people to just fully open up. And I love after the first day of the breath work, there seems to be like a shift in the energy, and then everybody are just like ready to gobble up every word you say on a an even more insatiable level.
Well, thank you for that, Christian. One of the things that I am powerfully drawn to regarding breath work is the fact that it requires nothing outside of us, no external agents of any kind, no plant agents, no chemical agents, no special sounds, reverberating in the mind. It is just us and the breath that we came into this world with. I've had people say to me, it can't be that easy. And one of the things that I like to share with people in the programs, the textbooks regarding brain states up until very recently had a limit on what was believed to be possible for human consciousness. It was 40 cycles per second, 40 hertz was the highest brain state scientists said that we could achieve. And it was Tibetan monks under laboratory conditions in Southern California that said, well, if we breathe a different way, and if we focus our awareness a different way, we can exceed that. And they doubled that 40 hertz to 80 hertz, 80 cycles per second. They had to come up with a new brain state called the gamma brain state. And then the monks said, well, if we breathe yet differently again, we can exceed that. And they went from 80 to 100, and then they doubled the 100 to 200 into something called the hyper gamma brain state. And it goes on from there. The point is that the deepest states of consciousness and the highest levels of human awareness documented in the laboratory have all been achieved with no external stimulus. All that was used was breath, awareness, and focus. And when I share that with people, it helps them to understand that this thing that we take for granted so easily, because we breathe every moment of every day, but there are different ways of breathing that can accomplish different experiences, different feats in our lives. And the modules for the breath work that I am bringing in our program open the door to a deeper dimension. When we leave the breath work behind, we don't continue it for 4 days. We leave that behind, and it opens the door for us to go deeper. And love is very important in forgiveness. To love and forgive freely, because so many of the blocks that we may not even been aware of no longer are hindering that experience. And that's one of the reasons I think this is just so powerful, because it's just us. It's just us.
Well, I love that you bring up that the studies with all the monks and such, because as you know, and your audience will soon know, I was a monk for 10 years, and in a meditative order where we practice meditation on about 4.5 hours each day. And the one thing that I noticed is that the techniques that we used were really modified breathing techniques. We manipulated the breath in different ways to bring energy up and down the spine, to help us let go of body consciousness, attain these higher states of awareness that meditation is touted to bring. And indeed, when we get down to it, meditation and breathwork are very intimately linked, because the actual where the rubber meets the road in the meditation practice is usually something to do with the breath. And you mentioned how it's, people are incredulous. How could it be so simple? And, what is it? Occam's razor that says, all things considered, it's the simplest solution that is most likely the right one. And I like to think that, when God or whoever our creator was somewhere contemplating bringing man into existence, said, I want to endow men and women with all the powers that I have, but I don't want to just like let them have it like straight out. I want to hide it from them, so they have to find it, but I don't want to hide it too difficultly. Where could I put it? Right beneath their noses, right? And so literally our breath is the hidden pathway to all the divine qualities that we are endowed with as humans, created from that divine template. And indeed, this is the theme of the Pure Human events, is to really get back in touch and reclaim our divinity. And that's another reason why I've resonated so well with what you teach, and how that program fits, what I also stand for.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that, Christian. So people come to our Pure Human 4-day events. They're going to see you. They're going to meet the team. They're going to have the experience. But I know some people be interested that may not be attending our 4-day events. If they want to get a hold of you, Christian, and find out about other things you've got going on, how do they do that?
Well, it's very nice of you to bring up. My website is breathflow.com, and there you can find all of the different offerings that I have. You'll see advertised there, the Pure Humans coming up, and as well as the different things that I'm doing on my own, including facilitator trainings. If somebody out there is got a little bee in their bonnet from this conversation and says, hey, that's something I'd like to do, we can take care of you there. I've got home study programs. And, one of the things that I really think everybody can do straight out the gate is what I call a daily 5-minute joy jumpstart, which is really just a 5-minute version of the breath pattern that we practice in the breathwork at Pure Human. And you can find that on my website as well under the, the Inhale Life Home Study course.
Wow. Well, thank you for all that. I'm intrigued. I've learned things from you in this conversation that I didn't know. I always learn something from you every time I have the opportunity to speak with you, Christian. So to our community, if this kind of information, if this intrigues you, if this is something, if you'd like to experience this kind of experience in a community that is safe, international community, people from all over the world are coming to the Pure Human events. I'm going to invite you to go to the links under this video, click the links, check it out. Too many to mention, so I won't mention any specific venues, but the Pure Human events. And I look forward to seeing you, Christian. I look forward to seeing you and your team at our next Pure Human. So thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of this today.
Well, thank you for having me, and here's to a great event coming up.
We look forward to our next.